topic for today, and we are talking about the recommended dietary allowances. I don't know if you've ever heard of this term, but it's a common term in nutrition, and basically it's about just the quantities that we need in our diet for us to consume what is required for our normal body functioning. So in this lesson, basically we're going to discuss the recommended dietary intakes and assess and main method of assessment of dietary intakes. And basically that means by the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain the recommended dietary intakes or allowances and also assess the dietary intakes. The RDAs, maybe we talk about the RDIs, the recommended dietary intakes, levels of intake of essential nutrients considered in the judgment of the National Health and Medical Research Council, the basis of available scientific knowledge to be adequate to meet the non-nutritional needs of practically all healthy people. So the RDI is just a reference daily intake level of a nutrient that is considered to be sufficient to meet the requirements of 97 to 98% of healthy individuals in every demographic population. So daily intake levels, usually here we have it that the nutrients found in all foods and drinks provide nourishment for the body. This nourishment is in the form of substances which provide energy, building blocks for bone, muscle, organs, hormones, and blood. And also we have substances needed for process to occur in the body like digestion, and also substances that protect the body. Okay, so nutrients are drawn from a wide variety of food. As we introduced, we have the macro and the micronutrients. The more varied your diet, the more likely you are to obtain all the nutrients from different kinds of food that will meet all your dietary needs. So we have 4 key nutrients. That is, we do have the fats, and we do have the saturated fat, sugars, and sodium. In terms of their intake, it has been recommended. That is because of the energy that such foods will contain. Maybe begin with, and we also have additional nutrients like the proteins, carbohydrates, and also fiber. Basically focus on the fats, sugars, sodium, and also energy. The vitamins and minerals play crucial roles in the body's function and being our well-being, but they do not provide energy or the kilojoules or the kilocalories. So I think from the last lessons, we realize that we say that vitamins are very crucial, minerals are small but very crucial in terms of being able to provide what is sufficient for us. And if they're not provided in the diet, then we are likely to suffer from conditions that will arise from that. Could be deficiencies are very different. Talking about energy, we find that energy is not a nutrient, but kilojoules is the food energy, and it's important for providing energy for your daily activities. So proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, as we learned, we realize that they're the ones that convert into energy in different quantities. So vitamins and minerals are also essential nutrients for the body, but they are not converted into energy per se. So the body processes, that is metabolism and also physical activity. So if you consume more energy than you use for metabolism and physical activity, excess is stored as body fat. So you need to be sure to balance the energy consumed through foods with the energy you spend during the day. So the more active you are, the more energy you need, and vice versa. So the reference for energy for adults is 8,700 kilojoules. So our fats contribute to energy index and help to absorb vital vitamins. Therefore, a healthy diet should always contain a certain amount of fat, and the two main forms of fat are saturated and unsaturated or unsaturated fats. Predominantly from the saturated are predominantly from animal sources, and unsaturated predominantly from vegetable sources. And of course, the latter, the saturated ones, are more preferred than saturated. So because fat is rich, so is a rich source of energy, You'll try and eat no more than your recommended intake, and it's also important to choose unsaturated fats as much as possible, such as those found in oily fish, nuts, seeds, avocado, and spreads made from sunflower, rapeseed, and also olive oil. The difference for fat is 70 grams for average adult. Then for about the fat, when you go specific into saturated fats, we realize that too much of it can raise the blood cholesterol, which can increase the risk of the heart disease. So you should therefore consume no more than your recommended daily intake, of which it is 24 grams. Sugars, again, those foods that we consume in moderation. Sugars are carbohydrates that provide the body with energy, our body fuel. Sugars occur naturally in fruits, vegetables, and dairy foods, and are added to food for flavor, texture, and also yeah, right. So the dietary intake should be about to aim at 90 grams per day. Sodium, just need about 2300 milligrams. That's about two tablespoons in a day. That's the much that we need if it has to be done. 5 grams actually of the tablespoon. That is this spoon, a small spoon. You should 5 grams. That amount is supposed to help you throughout the whole day. So needed for good health. However, too much can cause health effects through its function of raising the blood sugar and pressures. Our diet generally contains far more sodium than we need due to the level of added salts in some packed foods. So it's important for you to be aware of sodium intake for heart health, and you should aim to consume no more than your recommended intake. For proteins, our recommended intake is about 50 grams for adults, an average adult. So it's important for growth and repair of the body cells, as we talked about that, and also for building muscles. It can also be used to provide energy. So animal-based foods are usually excellent sources of protein, such as the fishes, meat, chicken, eggs, milk, cheese, and yogurt. And also good sources of vegetable-based protein include the legumes, soybeans, baked beans, kidney beans, chickpeas, and lentils, nuts, and seeds. Grain-based foods such as bread, cereal, rice, and pasta also contribute some protein to the diet. Best choose protein-rich foods that are low in saturated fats. Carbohydrates, the recommended intake is 10 grams. It's both complex and simple in nature. When you talked about the macronutrients and you talked about carbohydrates, I separated, I drew a line between the complex and the simple carbohydrates. So review that in case you've forgotten. So carbohydrates are the main source of energy that fuel our body and everything needs. Does even thinking. Carbohydrates are sugars and starches, and they're found in fruits and some vegetables, dairy food, and also grain-based food like bread, breakfast cereals, rice, and pasta. So eat some grain-based foods that are whole grain or high every day, or to boost your fiber intake. So how do you assess the dietary index? We have several methods that are used. Sometimes they may not be 100% accurate, but the research has shown they're a bit accurate in a way to help us give a previous sneak review of how someone is taking the specific foods or what is expected. So we have a number of them. One of them is called the diet record. And here, subjects record all foods and beverages consumed over 3 consecutive times, that is days, 2 days, and 1 weekend. The consumed items can be measured using a scale or other household items, such as measuring cups or spoons, or estimating using a portion size guide. So trained staff must be able to provide detailed instructions on how to record intake, and the completed records need to be entered into a software program such as nutrition data system for research for analysis. Then we also have a 24-hour recall, which is mostly used even in surveys, nutritional surveys. So with this one, subjects are asked to report all foods and beverages consumed in the past 24 hours, and this can be done via telephone or face-to-face interview. So trained staff must also conduct these, because it's a recall, sometimes it has biasness, but we have to have them recall and tell us what they consumed. So the interview is done to prompt for details such as method, portion sizes. There doesn't be the NDSR for analysis. Then we have food frequency questionnaire. So here subjects report how frequent certain foods and beverage items were consumed over a specific period of time, typically like 1 year, but most frequently we use the 7-day food frequency, so that we are able to get information of which people have been able to consume food in the past 7 days. That is 1 week, which should give us also a sneak preview of how the household feeds on average. What are the advantages of diet record? The intake is quantified, it does not require recall, allows self-monitoring, which can influence behavior change, and also provides typical meal and food. But the advantage is that it has a high subject burden, also high staff cost burden, can alter eating behaviors, requires little population, and it requires multiple records over several months to capture habitual intake. Then we do have the 24-hour recall. What is its advantages? Usually it is quantified. The intake is quantified. There's less burden, does not alter eating behavior, does not also require trait population. The disadvantage is that there is high staff cost and burden, because remember we said it has to be done by staff. So it relies on subject recall. So if the subject again is not able to recall or has biasness in recalling or right, may not have it. Then you have the fact that it requires multiple calls over several months to capture habitual intake. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, sorry. That's an advantage of 24-hour recall. That's what it relies on subject recall. About this other one, the one for the food frequency questionnaire, it requires multiple records over several months to capture actual intake. This is a disadvantage. But as an advantage, you find that there's less subject burden and also less staff burden. Does not alter eating behavior such as habitual intake. Again, part of the disadvantage is that it relies on subject called on it's not as quantifiably as precise. Requires literate population, does not provide meal pattern information, cannot be used over short periods. So how do you choose an appropriate method? Usually you'll choose an appropriate method by virtue of looking at what you want to focus on in terms of the dietary intake. So the most important question to consider before implementing a dietary assessment tool is whether or not you are interested in habitual intake. That is, do you want to capture your subject's routine eating patterns, or are you interested in capturing exactly what they consumed immediately prior to the study visit? So if you're interested in the latter, a diet record of 24-hour recall is more appropriate. A diet record completed over several days is more likely to generate accurate intake information than a single 24-hour record. So to choose between the two, you usually need to consider how many days of intake are necessary, literacy of your population, and population characteristics. That is, for example, will recall be an issue in an elderly population? Of course, because of the dementia. If you are interested in capturing habitual eating and intake, the next step is to consider the type of study you are conducting. So if it's retrospective, whereby you look backwards, they have no other option but to use an FQ, that is food frequency questionnaire, while prospective studies can use any of these three methods. The study timeline, budget, and population characteristics will help determine which of the three methods is more appropriate. So it's basically about the RDIs and the assessment method. So basically, we looked at three major assessment methods. We looked at that record, which the 24-hour recall, and we've also looked at the competency questionnaire, we looked at each of the advantages and disadvantages. We've also been able to look at the RDIs. We've introduced what RDIs mean and how essential they are to lives of populations and how important they will be able to help them. So with the knowledge of quantity control required on our minds, then we shall be able to guide our clients accordingly and help even conduct these nutritional surveys and see what comes out of it in terms of helping populations stay healthy. So that is it. See you next time.